What's going on, everybody? The Camaro is an American icon, and this generation particularly has been receiving rave reviews since it debuted in 2016. But now it's 3 years later, and Chevy wanted to freshen things up, so it's making a Transformers-inspired transformation. Of course, we wanted to specially thank our friends at Sutherland Chevrolet for providing us with this fully loaded Camaro SS. And if you're in the market for any new Chevy, be sure to pay their dealership a visit or check them out via their website, which we provided a link to in the video description. So with the Mustang recently gaining some ground over the Camaro sales-wise, let's see if this refresh will change the tide. Alright, so let's go ahead and address the elephant in the room right off the bat, this grille. Now in pictures, I will say that it's less than flattering, but in person it does look much better, especially when paired with a dark exterior color like this Riverside Blue Metallic. Non-SS models also have a more traditional grille if you want to go that route. But anyways, with that out of the way, the headlights have also been redesigned. They are now fully LED on all grades of the Camaro, and the previous accent light has been expanded to flow into the grille. Below that, there is another LED accent, and then on top, SS models get a special hood vent. There hasn't been any changes to the side, but the back did get some subtle refinements. The main thing is that the taillights have been separated again, just like they used to be from the 2010 to 2013 models. They of course are fully LED, and they have a really neat look with both amber and clear elements. SS models also have the really large spoiler, but thankfully my favorite part has not been changed, and that is the quad stainless steel exhaust outlets, pumping out that wonderful V8 burble. But overall, despite some initial misgivings, the refreshed Camaro is still a nice looking vehicle with a lot of lighting upgrades over last year. Now one of the other SS perks are standard 20-inch wheels. These are the included wheels, but there are at least 9 other options ranging from only $200 all the way up to $3,000. And for brakes, 13.6-inch 4-piston Brembos are included up front, and 13.3-inch ones in the rear. Moving to the mirrors, you have to get this 2SS to have goodies like heating, auto dimming, and blind spot monitoring with rear cross traffic alert. Now we still don't have any other active safety features, but for 2019 we do now have forward collision warning on the 2SS. Just be aware that Mustang does offer a full active safety package. The last thing to look at is the very generously sized 19-gallon fuel tank. Obviously, fuel economy isn't great, but the big tank does still allow you to get 380 miles of range. Chevy does recommend using premium fuel in the V8. So that's it for the redesigned exterior. So now let's go ahead and get inside and see what they've done in there. So every Camaro does come standard with Chevy Smart Entry system, and you will also find a standard remote start system as long as you choose the automatic transmission. And like pretty much all GM vehicles, there's not a sensor behind the handle, so you just press this button to unlock. And then looking inside the cabin, you'll see there's not a great deal of changes for 2019 in here, definitely a lot less than on the outside. But the cabin in here is already a very, very nice place to be. Now, as far as the interior materials and color schemes, they also have not changed for 2019. So your base SS continues to come with black or gray cloth seating. And then going up to the 2SS gets you leather in black, gray, adrenaline red, Kalahari, or my personal favorite, the ceramic color. It's very classy looking. And then turning over here to your door trim, that same nice look continues over here. So you've got more of that ceramic leather on the armrest here, which looks really good, although it might be a little bit hard to keep clean. You've got even more leather up here, as well as down here. And then you've got a real piece of aluminum that goes around through here with your accent lighting integrated into it. As far as your windows, they are one-touch automatic, up and down. And you will also find two-person memory seating on the 2SS. As far as the seat, it is 8-way power adjusting, but you are lacking lumbar support. And then, like I was saying, the seats, they have a really excellent look, and they also feel really high quality with nice bolstering, nice accent stitching, as well as your SS branding. And you can get a Recaro seat if you prefer something a little bit more aggressive. So like I said, at first glance around the cabin, you won't notice any big changes from last year. However, there are some little details hidden around the cabin. Now, one of the things that has not changed are the materials, which were already excellent. So across the top of the dash, you do have a hard touch plastic as expected. But once you move down to your lower areas, you've got a leatherette trim with color contrast stitching. Going down even further, you've got some more leatherette where your knee might touch, as well as on the armrest portion. And everything does fit together really, really solidly and feels well built. And standard on all Camaros, you do have push button start. When you turn it on, you will see an 8-inch display fire up on all of the SS models versus the 7-inch display that's standard on your V6 and Turbo 4. But of course, that right there is why you buy a VSS. Now, another nice benefit of going for the SS is that it comes standard with this upgraded gauge cluster with the large 8-inch display in the middle. Now, for those of you that have been watching this channel for a while, you know that I really like these GM gauges because they have a lot of functions and a lot of customizability. On the Camaro, it's no different. You've got all the standard functions, plus you've got this performance tab. This gives you a bunch of different information regarding your oil temperature, pressure, voltage, transmission fluid, tire temperature, a lot of useful things for performance situations. And then additionally, you still get your standard fare of options where you can change things like the theme, so you can switch over and go into technology mode, for example, and give it kind of a more high-tech look. To go along with that, on the 2SS, you're going to have a heads-up display. Now this also is customizable and adjustable. So you just press this info tab and switch to your miles per hour, radio functions, navigation, and various other things. Or you can leave it here, which is probably the coolest one, shows you your RPMs as well as the G reading. So that's pretty cool. And then coming back here to the steering wheel, thankfully Chevy did not change anything here, because this is already a really lovely steering wheel. We got a nice flat bottom design, contrasting and perforated leather stitching, and it just feels really, really great in the hand. Now, as far as your buttons, you've got your cruise control as well as your heating, and then on this side you've got your controls for that display as well as your typical phone and voice commands, and below you've got some radio controls. Back behind the shifter you will find paddle shifters if you get the automatic transmission, of course. And then the wheel itself is manually tilt and telescoping. Now I know this is not your main concern when you get a muscle car, but let's talk about the storage. It's actually decent. You do have a pretty large, for a muscle car, center console. So you've got enough space, you can fit a phone or something else small. You've got your 2 USB ports and an aux jack right there. In front of that you got your 2 cup holders, as well as a 12-volt outlet. And then you can maybe put something up here as well, although it's not really designed to hold anything. So for a muscle car, believe it or not, this is pretty decent. Now, of course, we do have the automatic transmission. This is optional on the SS. So just like any automatic, you pull back to drive and bump over to the left to select your gears manually or via those paddle shifters. When you go into reverse, a backup camera is standard. It does have active trajectory as well. And I think the resolution has been upgraded this year. It looks a little bit nicer than what I remember it looking like last year. And then of course there is an electronic parking brake as well. Now, like you'd expect from any good muscle car, you've got a host of different drive modes to select from. Now, what it's been in so far during this review has been Tour mode. However, you can go down into Sport, and that immediately, even here at idle, you can immediately tell that the engine note changes, everything gets more aggressive. Then you can go into basically a full manual mode where everything is off for track use. And then you've got a snow and ice mode just to kind of help you try to navigate different situations if you try to use this as a 4 seasons vehicle, like some people do. And this button defeats, of course, your traction control. Alright, so now let's talk about the unique climate controls. Now, these are dual zone automatic on the 2SS. And of course, what's unique about them, as you've probably seen on previous Camaro reviews, is that you adjust the temperature by twisting around the vent, and you can see that temperature show up right there. I really like this. I think it looks excellent. And it's easy to use, easy to understand. The only drawback I can come up with is that, say you had it on a really high temperature like I did, which was high, 90 degrees, you kind of have to stick your hand into the belly of the beast, so to speak, and burn it up a little bit to make that adjustment. But overall, I think it's really sleek looking, and I like it a lot. Now, also on the 2SS, you've got 3-stage heated seats, as well as 3-stage ventilated seats. Also on the 2SS, you've got the upgraded audio system, so let's go ahead and take a listen to the Bose 9-speaker sound system. Overall sound quality is excellent, especially for such a small cabin. Now that brings us to our first 2019 change, or one of the most significant that is, which is our upgraded Chevy Infotainment 3 system. So let's go ahead and take a quick look around this system. Now, as you can see, this has got the upgraded graphics as well as the upgraded processing and everything in the back end. So you've got your home page, you've also got some shortcuts along the bottom, and a home button as well as a physical one below it. Now you can click on any of these sections to expand them. So for instance, we can click on our navigation, which is a $500 option. As you can see, it loads up Chevy's latest navigation. The graphic quality here and performance is excellent, much improved. And this map does even include things like your map tilt, which is a pretty cool feature. Heading back here to our applications, you of course got your standard audio controls where you can play and pause through your standard Bluetooth, as well as your other audio sources, and then your presets across the top. I do also want to mention your phone. You got your keypad as well as your contacts, which automatically sync over, and there are also text message support as well. Like every Chevy product, you have a standard Wi-Fi hotspot powered by OnStar. And you do have standard Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, so you do have the ability to have navigation through Google or Apple Maps without having to pay that extra charge for the integrated navigation if you don't want to. Now, one of the other nice 2019 changes is that your accent lighting has been upgraded further. Now, it already was super customizable and really nice setup before, but now you've got these split blended color modes. So as you can see, you've got your solid colors, and of course that takes the whole strip and makes it one color. But if you go into one of these blended modes, so we'll do this one right here, as you can see, now our top part of the accent is different than our bottom part, so that gives it a really unique look. And you just have a ton of different options available here to choose from. But anyways, that's pretty much it for the Chevy Infotainment System 3. However, we will have a more detailed tech help video available for those of you who want to learn more. A link to that is provided in the video description. Now, heading on up here to the mirror, initially this does look the same as last year. However, it is actually not. Flip this switch, and you've now got GM's rear vision camera system. Now you think, do I really need this for a car so small, since it's typically in trucks and SUVs? But as many of you know, the Camaro struggles with rear visibility, and nothing has changed in 2019 in that regard, so the back window is still very small and you can still see very little out of it. So this definitely helps and cuts out all the obstructions. Integrated within this, you do also have your HomeLink universal remotes, and then above it you got your OnStar buttons as well as LED lighting. This particular model does not have a moonroof, however it is optional if you want one. But overall, the small refinements that Chevy has made for 2019 simply make this an even better place to spend time. This is a cabin that feels everyday livable, even though this is a performance vehicle. And honestly, I just don't have any complaints about it. It's luxurious, it feels pretty spacious, and so long as you can get past, compromised visibility and stuff like that, this is definitely a car that you can be comfortable with living with on a day-to-day basis. Now we'll go ahead and hop outside here and let Mason check out the rest of the vehicle. Alright, so getting in the back seats of the Camaro is pretty easy. So you just fold the seat back forward and then slide it with the power seat. Now once you do, you will have an entryway into the rear seats. Now, of course, these are pretty cramped, as with any muscle car, and their technical measurement comes in at 29.9 inches of legroom and 33.4 inches of headroom. That does make it pretty much class competitive. Now, you will notice you have to climb over the seatbelt, so just pull it down, then you can climb right in. Now, my first impression back here is actually a pretty good one. Now, the seat is scooted all the way forward, so this is obviously more legroom than the average adult would have. But I'm actually really comfortable. These seats are buckets in the back, still made that two-tone beautiful design, and they're actually really comfortable. Here in the middle, you do have another two-tone black leather here, as well as a little storage tray. And then off to your right, you do have an armrest, although it is not padded. But overall, you don't really expect much out of these rear seats, and headroom is lacking, of course, as well as, really legroom, but
This is not really that bad of a place. It's really competitive with the class, and I really like that the seats are comfortable. Now to get out, just go ahead and fold that up, push it forward, and climb right out. Now heading around to the trunk, all you have to do is locate the button under the lid, and it will pop right open. Now inside, this is one of the spaces where the Camaro is smaller than the Mustang. So you're gonna find 9.1 cubic feet for the coupe model, dropping down to 7.3 cubic feet for the convertible. Now like I said, that is smaller than the Mustang since it has 13.5 cubic feet. However, this is actually pretty big. It goes back quite a ways, and it does look pretty deep to me. You could probably fit quite a bit of stuff back here, maybe a couple weekend bags. And the opening is pretty good sized. Now, of course, the passenger seat is that beautiful design with SS branding. In this model, it is two-tone, as well as 6-way power adjusting on all SS. I'm really pleasantly surprised with the materials in front of the passenger, since you do have a leather area up here, as well as a padded dashboard. And down below that, you do have a good-sized glove box. Opens quite a ways. And above that, you do have a sun visor with integrated mirror and lights that gently fade in. And it does also detach and extend. Well guys, that sums up all the boring stuff. So now let's go ahead and get to the real reason you buy an SS, the powertrain.
So like we've already talked about, this refresh is mostly cosmetic. However, there have been some adjustments to the powertrain still. As far as the main part of the powertrain, the engine, it is unchanged. So we still have the LT1 6.2 liter V8 putting out 455 horsepower and 455 pound-feet of torque. And that's good for a 0 to 60 in under 4 seconds, which is just about in line with the Corvette. Now what's different this year is that you've got a 10-speed automatic transmission to replace the 8-speed automatic if you choose to go that route, or you still have the 6-speed manual if you want the more purist experience. Now of course, in a vehicle like this, fuel economy is not your biggest concern. However, we do have cylinder deactivation on the V8, so you still get a decent 20 mpg combined. Now, believe it or not, this car can go up to 25 combined if you go for the 2-liter 4-cylinder engine, and that's really impressive for a performance vehicle. But anyways, that sums up our basic powertrain information, so now let's go ahead and go for a quick test drive. Now, of course, this is not my car, and it's very cold out. There's ice on the road, and the tires are very cold, so it's not going to be like a super exhilarating burnout, drag race, donut type of test drive, but we will get a little taste of just how nice that engine sounds, even at low speeds. I mean, that's really why you buy the SS, because you're not driving, you know, with the throttle matted all the time. Actually, most of the time you're not going to be, because this is just a ton of power. So even when you're just driving casually around town, whatever, it just sounds fantastic. And that to me is just the biggest reason to get the SS. So in case you're wondering, this is a fun car, even at 25. It's really irresistible to just goose that throttle, listen to that exhaust note, and you would enjoy this at any speed.
And also a thing to notice is that you capture everyone's attention when you're driving down the street in this thing. It's a captivating blue color, and all that noise it's making, everybody will be looking at you.
Now, of course, we're not going to have any meaningful impressions for, you know, handling at the edge or whatever, because this has capability that there's no way I'm going to be able to test out. But, you know, you can tell. Of course, the steering is excellent, very communicative, super fast. Right now we're in the sport mode. That's what I think most owners will want to stay in, just to make sure you get all the engine note that you can get all the time, and keeps that steering and throttle response as sharp as possible. And let's play around with the manual mode just a little bit before we return it. Again, it just sounds phenomenal. Just flip that throttle.
Wow.
Just, oh, excellent. I can just see why anybody would want to own this car. If this is not something you've at least considered owning, you know, it's not the most practical type of vehicle, but if you drive this thing, you start to make excuses for reasons why you should have it.
Yes.
And
it's not horrible.
No, you
the
can
ride
live
quality,
with this.
you know, just driving down the street, if you put it into touring mode, it does make a lot of noise, but if you can get past the noise, which, you know, a lot of people like, it's really a comfortable car. It doesn't ride too rough or anything like that, so overall I'm very impressed with how this car drives. Well guys, we hope you enjoyed watching this in-depth look at the 2019 Chevy Camaro SS. Stay watching for a quick look at the pricing, and don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons below. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.